Everybody, it's Trisha. I'm here with Larry. I don't have anybody else joining us right now. But we are continuing with our 20,000 part series on disruptive technology. This is part 2, and Larry has a whole bunch of stuff to say about. Yesterday we kind of went a little bit long talking about kind of the history of our company and the disruptive technology that we've developed, just a little bit, kind of scratching the surface. There's been so much, what some people might refer to as failing. People talk about failing forward, but I look at it as learning. You're never failing, you're just learning. And so we've done a lot of learning of what is not going to work in regards to Fresnel lenses and Peltiers and putting them together in the way that we've been attempting to do so and making it work in order to disrupt the current technology that utilizes the burning of fossil fuels. So Larry claims he has a lot to say for today's hangout, and I think that he was specifically going to set the intention of what he wants to accomplish with this hangout, the kind of people that we want to attract to join us on future hangouts as participants and as viewers, and what basically just the purpose of this. He also wanted to share a little bit of his story and history as an innovator and patent holder and his previous company, and why he is so fired up about providing this platform for other companies and individuals that are interested in disruptive technology or innovation of any kind. So go ahead, Larry, and set your attention for what we're trying to accomplish with this 20,000 part series on disruptive technology, part 2.
Well, I was really fired up this afternoon. I don't know what came over me. I think I got myself under a little better control, and it was pretty emotional this afternoon for me when I realized what I believe this hangout should really be all about. I think this disruptive technology idea is a good platform for businesses similar to King Sunshine Solar Systems that have invented something or is working on creating something in an environment that's non-conducive to what they're working on. So, for example, if someone is working on alternative energy and they are in an oil-related climate like we are, there's a lot of pushback from the infrastructure that they really don't want to see some of these technologies come to market at this point in time, because I think it would just disrupt the infrastructure that's currently being used for energy, and that has a lot to do with oil and gas, as well as other types of fossil fuel, like coal bed, methane, things like that. And so I think we're really wanting to establish a platform for all industries or all companies and businesses that are in this disruptive vein of business in industry, because I think it's really something that has to happen. And Google Hangouts seem to be a real amazing tool for us all to use because it's so much easier to communicate with several people all around the world. We don't have to look around our neighborhood anymore to get people that think like thoughts as we have, and we found that so far by using the internet, we're finding a lot more people think along the lines of the environment and how important it is to protect the environment. And to give you a little history on why I feel the way I feel is that personally I feel that I have a responsibility to the environment, simply because about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I came up with another type of technology that wasn't related to energy. However, I received a patent in 1989 and struggled and struggled and struggled to find a path to bring technology I came up with to market. And what I had come up with was, I still remember it as if it was yesterday, the abstract saying that it was a method of repairing worn thermal or thermoset plastic material, which really covered a lot. And so what that meant was that anything that was made out of plastic could be repaired rather than scrapped or recycled. So it was a reconditioning type of technology. So I struggled for several years to try to bring this technology to the market the way I wanted to see it come to market, which was environmentally. Excuse me. All the businesses I've been in, with this exception to a few, have all been focused around the environment and around recycling and protecting the environment. It's what I've been into ever since I heard about Alvin Toffler back in junior high school and read Future Shock. Actually, it was junior high school, a long time ago. So getting back to what I want to talk about is that because I came up with this technology for the environment, I wanted it to be used basically to get stuff out keep things from going to the landfill. And I really think that it started when I was a photocopier repair technician. We were changing all these parts out of a photocopier called cleaning blades, and they were this long piece of plastic about this long, and it looked like a windshield wiper blade. And I was on training, and my partner told me that. I said, well, what are you going to do with this part when you take it out of this machine? And he just picked it up and he says, this is what I do to it. And he dropped it into the garbage can. And this was a piece containing plastic, and they come in different sizes, a lot of plastic and pot metal. And it went right into the garbage can, no recycling whatsoever. And that, I guess, inspired me to come up with this first patent. So getting back to what I was saying, I had come up with this process of repairing worn thermal or thermoset plastic while working as a student at the Alberta Research Council back when it was run by our provincial government. And I worked alongside scientists, so it made it really easy for me to overcome obstacles in developing the technology. Anyways, one thing led to another. I got the patent, started a company, and tried to find things to rebuild. And it wasn't until a friend of mine said, listen, Larry, you're in Alberta. The industry here is oil. Why don't you look at the oil and gas industry and find something there that you might be able to rebuild? And I thought, well, I never considered looking there because it's not a very clean, environmentally minded industry. He says, well, you want to survive and get your product to market or get this technology used, right? I said, yeah. So one thing led to another, and I ended up discovering a part that was used by the oil pipeline industry. And I did a couple of projects for some really big oil pipeline companies. And once the projects were completed, I remember the first project that started off this company, which was called Plastic Parts Research, was the biggest pipeline company in the world at the time. And so they gave me a stack of money, and they said, here, use your technology and take one of these parts. We'll give you a new one and a worn one, and you recondition or repair this old part to make it look like the new part. And I said, yeah, that's not a problem. That's what this technology is for. They said, do it, and we'll be back to you in about 6 months. 6 months later, I had it all completed, and they came, and I was expecting them to. They came to the shop, the shop where I was doing the work, to have a look at the part I had rebuilt. And they looked at it and took some pictures, and left. And I thought, well, that's awfully strange. And nothing came of it. They just, it turned out they just wanted to be the first company that actually had had one of these parts rebuilt. I'm not sure if I'm still on here because my computer's frozen up. Can you still hear me?
I'm back.
Oh,
Hey, are you back too? Okay, Larry, you were just talking about how you were given up a large amount of money to go and try and
right,
recondition the pipeline pigs for the oil
right.
field. So go ahead.
That's what I was doing. I'm sorry I got disconnected there. I'm not sure how. So I did the job that they wanted done. I rebuilt the the part for them and made it look brand new. And I think I've been disconnected again. Can you hear me?
Okay, we're back. Want to try that again? Can
I
you
don't
hear
know what
me?
keeps doing that. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so you got a whole bunch of money and you started not so much recycling, but refurbishing pipeline pigs.
That's right. And I'm just waiting for it to freeze up again. Hopefully it won't. I got the job done. To make a long story short, that's probably why it cut out. I was taking too long to tell the story. So I got the job completed the way the company wanted it done. They gave me a new part, and they gave me a used part identical to the new part, and I was to rebuild the old part to look like the new part. I had done that, and they came to look at it the 6 months later, and they came with some photographers. They took a whole bunch of pictures and said thank you very much, and they went out the door. And that's was the end of the project. They never said they wanted more manufactured or anything like that. What is going on with this? Can you still hear me?
I have to get up super early, so this is the latest I can possibly stay up, and you'll have to bear with me because during the Hangouts I may be yawning quite a bit, and it's almost past my bedtime. So, Larry, are you there? He's coming back.
Yeah, I restarted my browser
So
just thinking
also,
of.
for reasons of we want to have international participation on our Hangouts here. So it's like just first thing in the morning in Europe, where we made some connections when we traveled to Munich, Germany, for a trade show. So, and then in Asia, it's actually kind of midday. So we are looking forward to having both participants and viewers of our Hangouts live coming from Asia and Europe. So this is kind of a sweet spot where it's like bright and early in the morning for the European market, and then it's kind of midday for the Asian market, and it's way outside of business hours for us, but this just works for people that are like us, that maybe are trying to work a full-time job or have another business that they're also running, and their disruptive technology is kind of in the stage of not really a viable business, but more of a startup, kind of almost a hobby situation at the moment is kind of where we're at. So this is a time that works well for us because during business hours I'm with horses, and Larry's quite heavily involved with the running of our recycling company, and so he oftentimes works into the wee hours of the night preparing things for our disruptive technology that we're working on. So it gets done outside of business hours. So this is kind of the sweet spot as far as time to be able to get maximum amount of participants, both on the Hangout and as viewers. As we move forward in the future, we intend to have the whole bottom of the screen filled up with panelists that are sharing their different types of disruptive technology, as well as their different ideas for helping each other and creating like a supportive community of people that want to disrupt some of the current technology that is holding humanity back as far as progress goes. Well, in our opinion. So you want to go ahead with your story now, Larry, if you're back?
Okay. So I completed the project for this pipeline company, and they came with some photographers and took pictures of what I had done, and then they left. And so I thought I could do another project with another company that might be interested with going ahead with the project once they got started. And so I did find another company that did that, and it kept the business going for a while. And then the company grew into a bigger company, and we got more investors involved. And we're doing all this work and research for the oil and gas industry. And I thought, this is not really what I designed this technology for, or this is not what I came up with it for. Although we're recycling a lot of these parts for different areas of the oil and gas industry, these parts were no longer going to the landfill, which is where they were ending up. Some of these parts were 500 pounds. They're giant pieces of plastic. And so it was great that we were taking them out. However, you might have heard of these things called tailing ponds in the news recently over the past few years from the oil sands in northern Alberta. Well, these tailing ponds were responsible for damaging a large part of the environment, including killing birds and contaminating water supplies, drinking supplies. Well, it turns out the parts we were rebuilding were directly flowing, excuse me, the parts that we were building were for the machines that pumped the fluids into these tailing ponds. So it was years later that I learned about I got out of that company and realized that, yeah, that's what's going on there. And so it was technology that wasn't really meant for that application. However, the owners of the company that I got in business with said, well, this is what's going to make the company money. They were very narrow. I found them personally narrow-minded, but there was other applications for the technology, but they weren't interested in pursuing those avenues. For example, rollerblade wheels. There's millions of rollerblade wheels that go into the landfill every year once they're worn out. Well, this technology that I had was capable of rebuilding rollerblade wheels. Excuse me. So after this whole thing with the tailing ponds, I really feel strongly that the technology that we have now with King Sunshine Solar Systems is really designed for the environment, and it's hard to imagine it being used for anything that could be well, I think it could. The only thing it's going to do is disrupt the oil and gas industry, because instead of using oil and gas to make power, we'll be able to use the sun to make power. Now, there's also other types, and that qualifies it as being a disruptive technology, just like photovoltaics or solar panels. And so, what I'm saying is that I believe that this Google Hangout would be an excellent platform for other companies, other individuals that are forward thinking with the environment. It would be a great platform or a place for people to get together and discuss these technologies and look at different methods of being financed. A huge stumbling block for us here in Alberta, where our company is situated, is there's lots and lots of government programs. There's lots of money available for new businesses. However, there's a stigma if you're related to an environmental technology that is good for the environment but produces clean electricity, clean energy. It's very difficult to have any of these institutions have a look at your technology, and I believe the main reason for that is a lot of the investment money is coming from people that have made money in the oil and gas industry, but they don't want to see their money going into something outside of oil and gas for the reason that
I have to say that those people are coming along, even people that have amassed fortunes thanks to oil and gas and continue to profit from it. They also are seeing the side effects of what that profiteering is doing from an environmental standpoint, and so I see even some of those people as coming around. I think that besides investment, I think it's really important that this hangout is very much geared towards creating a supportive community for people that are working with disruptive technology, because like you say, it's against the status quo, and definitely in our experience, we've found a lot of family and friends and people close to us that just don't really understand what we're trying to do, and just they don't have the time to study it because they're occupied with full-time jobs and kids and whatever else. And so because they don't quite understand what we're trying to do, they tend to, well, what it is that people that love you and care about you, they don't want to see you disappointed. So they almost kind of have this thing where they'd rather see you not try at all, because they see that, oh, what you're trying is not going to work, and so you're just going to wind up being all heartbroken and wasting a bunch of money and wasting a bunch of time, and they don't want to see that. So they tend to be dismissive, they tend to be unsupportive, and so here what we want to do is we want to create a place where if you have disruptive technology that is a little outside the box, it's a little different, that's not what people are used to seeing, we want to be supportive of that and tell you that, yeah, anything is possible. This is a platform of possibility. We believe in the possibilities. And if you have an idea, there is nothing stopping that idea from becoming a reality except for your own limitations. And so we want to have this be a space where we help remove some of those limitations by being able to create like a mastermind scenario where we can bounce ideas off each other and where we can guide each other to the specialized information that we may require in moving our technology forward as we attempt to bring it to the marketplace. So go ahead with what you were saying, Larry, about seeking investors for disruptive technology.
Well, it can be hard to find because of the huge supply of the oil and gas materials or raw materials here in Alberta. It's been historically it's been difficult for industry to look away from that as any kind of way of diversifying the economy. It's been an issue ever since I was a little kid. And the only way they diversify the technology is they divide it into more elaborate ways of producing oil and gas, which it's just a constant circle. It keeps spinning around and always ends up back in oil and gas. They don't really, the government doesn't seem to be interested in going outside of that circle. It's almost like a safety net for them. So there's organizations that are new that are still having that same problem, whereas they seem to be looking for new technologies to, for example, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and they're looking to do that through the production of oil and gas. And if you use if you produce less greenhouse gas emissions producing oil and gas products, I don't get that at all. Because what's the oil and gas products going to be used for? They're going to be used more than likely to create greenhouse gas emissions. Not to do that as their sole purpose, but the end result is they'll probably burn these oil and gas products and create greenhouse gas emissions. So it's almost like some kind of weird vicious circle, and I haven't been able to figure it out. So I'm sure there's other technologies in other areas that they find that, and probably not globally. I think we're here, King Sunshine Solar Systems, located in Alberta. It's really a bizarre place to be located for coming up to a way of making solar powers, simply because we're way far north, and also we're surrounded by oil and gas. So as if you go down to New Mexico or Arizona or California, where, for example, in California they have lots of issues with smog and have had that issue for a long time. They're actually doing something about it by having more electric vehicles on the road. I don't think there's an electric vehicle in Western Canada. There might be. I know there's a dealership, but they're really few and far between. So it's not something that's caught on here for any reason. There's main vehicles you see on the roads around here are giant SUVs, and they consume a lot of fossil fuels in order to operate. So photovoltaics and wind power, these are products that are out there that are actually doing things for the environment, for the good of the environment, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, not producing greenhouse gas emissions, and not leading to another product that would produce greenhouse gas emissions. So these are also disruptive technologies. And we have, I was thinking before this hangout this evening, that there's a company called Bullfrog in Energy, and they're located down in Calgary, Alberta, and they're really big behind the wind power. that we have several wind generators located in the Pincher Creek area, and they're providing lots of clean energy for southern Alberta. So they're how they ended up working into the picture with oil and gas. I don't know their story, but there's a lot of wind coming off. Can't remember the name of the ridge, but there's a ridge in the foothills of the Rockies where the wind is constantly blowing. That's why they said, well, let's put up a bunch of wind generators here. And they're working. They're producing a lot of power. However, I'm sure there's some oil man out there who's not, he's upset by that. He doesn't like that idea. And so I think with this platform,
I don't know if I quite agree with that. I don't think anybody is upset with that idea at all, even if they are profiting from oil. I don't believe anybody's upset with that. Where it comes in is that people do question the reliability of such technology, and people are resistant to change. I've heard people complaining about the noise created by the wind generators. Like, are you kidding me? Like diesel motors and big trucks that drive through every community throughout North America are not equally as loud as these wind. I guess it's just a different noise. I don't think it's so much that it's really that loud, but people do tend to be resistant to change, but I really find it hard to believe that any business-minded person on the planet would be totally against such a thing. It may be disruptive to their profit margins, but I don't really think that it's. I don't know. I see. There's probably some competitive person somewhere that might think that way, but I tend to shy away from such notions. So I just got to admit that, yeah, it is definitely past my bedtime. I got my coffee here as usual, but it's not really doing that much for me. So excuse me if I'm a little bit sleepy, but go ahead with what you were saying, Larry. Sorry.
Well, the whole
Pincher Creek is where the turbines are, right?
That's right. And Cowley Ridge, that's the name of the ridge where they've recently done a lot of new developments along that region geographically. So there is a lot of different types of disruptive technology out there, and I think solar and alternative energy is one. I believe there's a lot of other types that could be used a lot more in our environment to reduce greenhouse gases and just better for the environment. And to categorize something as disruptive, I'm not sure exactly how it's done. I just thought, from what I've read so far, that it is kind of a term that's being used right now in all types of different industries. One particular one that comes to mind is the Stirling engine that was created by NASA in I think they had 3 vehicles back in, I think it was the 60s, where they came up with a Stirling engine that worked on they worked on various types of fuels. And pretty much a Stirling engine is, if you don't know, it's a heat engine, and it basically works like a internal combustion engine, but it's a heat engine, which makes an external combustion engine. But it is capable of generating enough power to run a van or a truck or a car. And so NASA did this. You can actually find the YouTube video about it online, and where they actually talk about this engine that they came up with. It's kind of a pricey engine. However, it works really, really well in all these vehicles, and they've mothballed the whole project, and because it was something that we were they were told by the automotive industry it's something they weren't interested in. Now that in itself is kind of strange, being that it was highly efficient, and the automotive industry back then was still, all about let's replace the oil, let's fill it up with gas, let's replace the spark plugs, all those kind of things, maintenance, 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 and that's how the infrastructure is shaped to perform. However, these vehicles ran really well, and the only maintenance was they didn't have any huge amount of greenhouse gas emissions. The tailpipe, the air that came out of the tailpipe was actually cool, and they showed video of it, and there's no smoke or anything that comes off of it. So I think the Stirling engine burns, well, it doesn't burn internally, so the oil never had to be changed. The oil has no way of getting dirty. So it would be really nice to see something like NASA or another company mass produce these engines so people can put a Stirling engine into their vehicle instead of and take out their six-cylinder internal combustion engine. That alone.
Now, at that time, like in the 60s, when the internal combustion engine and the whole automotive thing was a little bit new, definitely then there were oil tycoons that had a competitive mindset that would have been against a Stirling engine being implemented and taking all that profit away from them. But I think that today, I really believe that those people don't exist anymore, because it is so obvious to anybody with a shred of common sense that there is like consequences and long-term damage that has been done by using this model of transport technology as far as the internal combustion engine is. But that oil man that you were talking about that didn't like the wind generators, at that time, I think that person existed and didn't like the Stirling engines. But today, I think it would be really hard for any business person worth their salt not to see that we need better solutions than the internal combustion engine, and that they want reliability, but they do. But I think that all people everywhere realize that burning fossil fuels has consequences that will outlive us all, and that we need to be seeking these disruptive technologies that will help us move away from that destructive practice and start using resources more responsibly. But back in the story that you're talking about, definitely there was, I'm sure, a lot of oil men that were short-sighted, and the science didn't exist to prove that, hey, this stuff is poison when we burn it, and it's actually really bad for plants and animals and people. Like you say, in California, because of the smog that they experienced, there's a strong motivation to find alternatives. However, other places where it's not so easy to see that, like here, there's not as much of a motivation to change things. But I think that the way that the information is so readily available now, I don't think that there's any people out there now that will not at least want to hope for a solution, and to hope that things like wind generators will eventually provide cleaner and better forms of energy.
I think once we have more people on this hangout, we might see a different opinion regarding that, because I'm just saying, basically from my own experiences talking to some people about electric cars, they just are so against electric cars that they have 100% negative attitude, no open-mindedness about electric cars. Why? Because they work with an oil-based company, and they want their vehicle to burn oil and gas, because they're afraid that if they drive an electric vehicle, they won't be able to have a job to go to. And that's the type of people I'm talking about. And I know those people are out there. They work directly with oil and gas. They're not making millions of dollars, but they told me. I've been told by several people in that industry that, yeah, they want to be driving that SUV because it burns a lot of gas and it keeps them employed.
Yeah, I still gonna disagree with that because I believe even those people deep down inside they can see long term that that's not really the best thing. Maybe on the surface they feel that way, but I'm sure if you dug a little bit deeper, deep down inside, you would see that they too long for a better way that is less destructive and more responsible as far as using these resources. And when the time comes and there's jobs that they can go to where they will be more responsible with the resources, they'll be much happier to go to those jobs. But I can see where you're coming from at the surface level. I'm sure that there are people that feel that, oh no, we need to burn fossil fuels forever and electric cars are bad. But I think if you dig a little bit deeper, I don't really believe they feel that way deep down to their core.
Well, actions speak louder than words, right? Like I said, there's not a lot of electric cars around this area. Nobody drives electric cars around here. And
Well, not yet. Not yet.
right, hopefully in the future we'll see that, because there probably won't be a choice uh, at the rate they're going. So getting back to this Google Hangout with disruptive technology, this is like one area. And I think once we have more people joining this Hangout and sharing their thoughts on their disruptive technology or stuff they've experienced regarding disruptive technology, we've all heard stories of individuals coming up with things that just seem unbelievable. Magnetic motors that are, what's the word? They just run on their own through the use of magnets. It sounds like a really good idea, but there's a lot of cases or not cases, but information that these types of motors don't exist. I'd like to talk to these people on this Hangout and find out the facts. You know, seeing what they were faced with and what they discovered. And getting back to the whole point of me bringing up this Stirling engine that NASA came up with, the way I look at it, it is somewhere between the internal combustion engine and the electric car. So it does burn a fuel, but it burns it a lot cleaner, and it seems to be very reliable as well. Like these motors required very little maintenance. The only thing they had on them were the spark plug that had to be changed, and not as often as a car. Reason being, there's no fuel and stuff going. It's not an internal combustion type of setup. So it's a very interesting video to watch, and it would be nice for people to have that option from a vehicle manufacturer. Well, I'm not really into a 100% electric vehicle, but yeah, put a Stirling engine in my vehicle so I get way better gas mileage. They burn a lot less fuel, and it's a lot less cleaner. That should be, I think, an option for people to choose. Although the motors are the heat engine or the Stirling engine is a lot more expensive, that price would come down if the automotive industry was to pick it up and start manufacturing it.
So, did you have very much luck contacting more people that are interested in this kind of thing that might join us?
I think we'll be having more people join us over the next few days. I just started contacting people last night, And I think what I'm really just doing this Google Hangout tonight, I'm thinking about these people that I've been talking about. It would be interesting to have them join the Hangout and get their side of the story. And that could be for the photovoltaic industry, that could be for the Sterling. I noticed there are more companies today than there was in 2012 when we were working on our electrical component for our invention. We looked at the Stirling engine, and since 2012, there's been some more products entering the market that are Stirling powered for for electricity and for other producing other types of energy. So it's things are changing and developing all the time regarding that industry as well. So if we had um, representatives from each technology, like one Google Hangout could be disruptive technology talking about photovoltaics, and then the next day it could be one more focused on wind. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So you have a good.
Well, Well, it's a 20,000 part series that we're putting together, so there will be lots of opportunities to expand into all areas of disruptive technology, whether they be disrupting the burning of fossil fuels or in some other sector of business, all leaning towards progressing and making the world cleaner, greener, more sustainable, and just a better place for all of us to live and enjoy this beautiful life that we share on our one and only home of the earth. So Larry's dropped off again, and it's kind of getting to be where I'm ready to go to bed. So I'm going to wrap this up, this time without the internet completely giving way on us and kind of cutting us off in the middle of a thought. I can wrap this up by just describing that our mission here is to provide a support forum and a platform for anyone involved in disruptive technology to get their ideas out there, to find like-minded individuals that will support you and help you in your search for specialized information that will help you bring your disruptive technology and product or service closer to the marketplace and saleability to the general public. And so basically here on the 20,000 part series on disruptive technology, we want to provide we want to be on the cutting edge of disruptive technology. So Bob Proctor says that if you're not on the edge, you're taking too much room. So come onto the edge with us, and as we just explore disruptive technology, I hope we'll have some awesomely interesting guests coming up in future parts to just see what's going on out there and how people are working towards solutions that will make the world a better place for us all to live. So thank you so much for watching. Go out there and make it a great day, night, whatever. And if I don't see you in the future, I will see you out in the pasture, because I'm going to bed and I will be up and out in the pasture by 6 a.m. So we will see you then. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye.